On this album, ScHoolboy Q is just like rambling. He's just rambling and rambling. Like, okay. ScHoolboy Q, Blue Lips. This album kind of feels pointless, kind of feels directionless. And as I'm preparing my notes to review this album, halfway through it, it got me thinking like, am I the weird one for expecting more out of albums? Am I the weird one for expecting albums to be like how they've always been in music history, not just rap? Cohesive, making sense, having a direction. Even if it's an album about bullshit, how well do you nail the topic of bullshit? Am I the weird one for expecting this nowadays? Because I listened to this ScHoolboy Q album and it's, while not bad, I'm not gonna listen to this album and say it's bad. For me, this is like a completely pointless album. It's like, why was this made? You know what I mean? And I say this almost lovingly because I do like ScHoolboy Q's albums, all of them, even Crash Talk. But for ScHoolboy Q specifically, he usually has a theme on his albums. His albums are usually about something, habits and contradictions. You can tell what that's about. Setbacks, you can tell what that's about. Self-explanatory, oxymoron. Even the Blank Face LP, which I didn't like. I didn't like ScHoolboy Q's Blank Face LP. I just don't like ScHoolboy Q's gangster rap bag. I just don't prefer when he does that type of rap. But even that had some type of theme. Now, Crash Talk didn't really have a theme, but I think it had better songs. Here on Blue Lips, this sounds like an album, one that's old. Like some songs sound old, and I'll get to like some of the lyrics that makes me think this is old. Like there's a reference to Kamala Harris freeing the guys or something like that. I'll get to this later. But like, is that referencing when Kamala Harris was a DA in California? Like what is this? Part of this album sounds old. Part of this album sounds like they just didn't know how to order it, how to structure it, and even certain songs just sounds like separate songs that were matched together to create anything that they could scrap together, like Ohio. And I know you guys like Ohio. I wasn't really impressed by that song. I think, but I'll get to that later. And I saw ScHoolboy Q say, I forget, I think it was on Twitter or maybe it was in an interview on Back on Fake. I think he said that he kind of fell out of love with making music and then he made this. And now this is his favorite album that he's made. This sounds like an album. I can see that because with that knowledge in mind, when I listen to this, it sounds like an album that is not serious at all. And it's cool. Albums don't always have to take themselves super serious, but it sounds like he's just having fun. On this album, ScHoolboy Q is just like rambling. He's just rambling and rambling. Like I've listened to this album multiple times, which is why it's taken me so long to do this review. I wanted to listen to it multiple times. And even after listening to it numerous times, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about on this album. There's not really one thing not even of substance, but there's not one thing I can take away that he said. Like when I listen to this album, I just, and that last song ends, which is Smile. When that song is over, I kind of just almost feel empty. It's like, I don't know what he was trying to tell us on this album. And again, it doesn't have to be this super conscious album, but I just don't know what the point. That's why I don't know what the point of the album was. So that's why I said earlier, this album sounds directionless. Like, why was it made? I'm listening to ScHoolboy Q rap, and I've never felt like this when ScHoolboy Q raps. But on this album, song after song, it's like, what? He's just rambling. It's like he's saying words, but everything is just like, nothing sticking. Like nothing of value is being said. So I want to look at the album and kind of just go track by track, the thoughts that I had, read off my notes, what I felt about some of these songs. So first off, I'll start by saying my favorite songs on this album were Funny Guy. I liked Blue Slides. I liked Lost Times featuring Jazzy. I think that was the best song on this album, Lost Times. And that's it. And there were other songs that I thought were good, but they all had like weird things going on with the production. Like the song started one way and ended a completely different way. So starting out, Funny Guy, I thought that was a great intro, straight melodic. I thought it was great. This is one of the songs on the album that gave me Kendrick Lamar vibes. And I know that Kendrick Lamar is not with TDE anymore, and I also know that based on what ScHoolboy Q said, some of these songs have been done for a while, right? So I know that Kendrick Lamar worked with a lot of artists on TDE. For J-Rock, he was pretty much writing, giving him entire songs. I don't care what anyone says. Win, that J-Rock song, win. That's a Kendrick Lamar song, bro. Like that's, the entire song is rapped like in Kendrick Lamar's style, and Kendrick Lamar is ad-libbing on the song. It's not even credited or featured. But that's neither here nor there. So I'm not making it up. So Kendrick Lamar, and I've had a feeling that Kendrick Lamar has wrote for ScHoolboy Q in some capacity for a long time. If you listen to the song Birds and the Bees, if Kendrick didn't write ScHoolboy Q's verse, like ScHoolboy Q is doing his best imitation of how Kendrick rapped. But yeah, although Lamar now runs his own label, Imprint PG Lang, he was once a member of TDE. So when ScHoolboy Q was making his album Crash Talk, it came no surprise that Lamar assisted him in the creation of some songs for it. Along with Num Num Juice, Floating, Chopsticks, Lamar earned songwriting credits on the LP's 12th song Crash. So, I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything egregious here when I say that some of these songs sound like Kendrick Lamar wrote them. I think pretty much everyone knows like Kendrick Lamar was carrying TDE for the longest. He was writing so many of these niggas songs. Funny Guy and a couple of other songs which I'll mention, to me, has that melodic thing going on. Even some of the vocal inflections, it kind of reminds me of Kendrick. I could be wrong, but that's what it reminds me of. I thought it was a great opener. Pop featuring Rico Nasty, I could have done without that. But I thought it was interesting that, 3-4 minutes had passed in the album, and then we finally get ScHoolboy Q rapping. I wasn't mad at that. I thought that was a nice little curveball that they threw. Blue Slides, I really like this song. Yearn, I mean, I wasn't super mad at it, but this is one of those songs that I listen to on this album where I'm like, what the hell is ScHoolboy Q talking about? What does he want us to leave with after hearing some of these songs or this album as a whole? Like, what's the fucking point? That's one of those songs. And I think Yearn is a song that would probably be one of those songs that are great when it's performed live. But for me, it was kind of like, eh. And I want to say for these first 1 through 6 songs, it feels like the album is struggling to find direction. It doesn't know which way it wants to go. And throughout the entire album, it's sequenced like slow song, upbeat song, slow song, upbeat song, slow song, or like they interchange, not exactly in that order, but there's like a slow song, upbeat, slow song, upbeat. And that's why I say it feels like they don't know which direction to take it. And that's why the album also feels like just a random compilation of songs, especially when you look at it amongst ScHoolboy Q's, the rest of his discography. The majority of his albums are not like that. So Lovebirds, I thought this is a good song. Devin Malik, not a huge fan of him. He's on another song on here called Back in Love, which I thought the song is just better without him. AZ Chike, ScHoolboy Q, I shouted out AZ Chike many times in the past, so I'm not surprised to see AZ Chike on this album. This song right here, Fool, featuring Ab-Soul. So ScHoolboy Q and Ab-Soul, back during the blog era, early 2010s, yeah, ScHoolboy Q and Ab-Soul on the same song, it's gonna be fire. You got ScHoolboy Q and ASAP Rocky on the same song, it's gonna be fire. ScHoolboy Q Kendrick, it's gonna be fire. But this song, and I want to say this about both of these features too, Ab-Soul and Freddie Gibbs. The features sound like mixed strangely. When Freddie Gibbs started rapping the first time I heard this, I almost didn't even realize it was Freddie Gibbs until he said something about academics. I'm like, oh wait, that is Freddie Gibbs. He does have beef with DJ Academics. And same with Ab-Soul here. But obviously, this is like an ode to druggies with hoes, marijuana, hydro, pussy, hoe, ass, titties. I mean, yeah, they did that already. Druggies with hoes. I think there's a Druggies with Hoes part 2. This song is not on that level. Forgettable, honestly. So if you can see how I'm viewing this album, that's why I say it's understandable when ScHoolboy Q says he fell out of love with music. Because some of these songs feel like he's just trying to have fun and he doesn't have like the conviction that he had prior. And what that can often result in is a distorted album or shit's just all over the place and also directionless. Now this song first here, I think the sample is Death Grips. Okay, maybe it's not a sample. I do like this song. I like how the sample sounds. I like the tone of everything, the beat. And here's like one of my gripes with the production on this album. I don't understand the beat change after verse 1. Why on this album are there so many random beat changes? That beat change after verse 1 on First completely kills the momentum of the hypeness of the track. Man, you let that beat ride out. There was no reason to just switch the beat up like that. Like, to me, that's the case of the producers doing too much. It's just doing too much. And it happens a couple times on this album. Back in Love, I thought Back in Love was great. Minus Devin Malik's verse. And I know you guys love Ohio too. I think the reason a lot of people love Ohio, before I skip over it, is because it kind of sounds like Groove Line Part 2. Yeah, you never had a nigga just like me. Like, it kind of has that same vibe. But then, like I say with the track First, they switched the beat up. Ohio is like 3 different songs mixed together. You could have just made all those beats separate songs. Like, it does a disservice to the song. And I'm not a person who normally is against beat switches, but it just doesn't make sense to do this on Ohio. It's like they're just trying to cook up anything they can to make this shit sound interesting. I'm not a fan of it. There was an unnecessary beat change. Lost Times, this is the best song on the album, featuring Jazzy. Best song on the album, but I'll say it ends too early. Similar to what happens on Ohio. Like, just the sudden ending of the song kind of kills the vibe of it. You could have let the hook ride out one more time or let the beat fade away. Again, some of the production choices, I'm questioning. Germany 86 just sounds like an unfinished song. And I'll say the same thing about Smile too. It sounds like a song idea and they just built around it. And ScHoolboy Q was like, I'm not finishing this shit. And the producers just made something out of nothing, basically. Time Killers, forgettable. Pig Feet, I mean, you got Childish Major here. Well, first of all, this entire song is cap. The song is about killing cops, and we can look at some of the lyrics in a minute. But the entire song is cap. Like, you niggas are not touching cops at all. Like, cops come on the block, all you niggas run, right? But Childish Major is like doing this Travis Scott impression. Overall, I'm not mad at the song, but I just cannot stand when a rapper is rapping directly like their influence. Like, I understand being influenced by somebody, but it almost sounds like this song was meant to have Travis Scott in Childish Major's part, but something happened and they couldn't get Travis Scott, so they had Childish Major do the part. That shit like that, I just can't listen to it personally. And Smile, I think Smile was a terrible ending. Just the way this album ends, man. And again, and this is why I say, am I the weirdo for like expecting albums to like be like cohesive things and have good beginnings, good endings? Am I the weirdo for that? Like, the album ends with Smile. This is a terrible ending. Then you have Pig Feet. This is kind of just thrown in there. Honestly, it feels like Travis Scott or somebody else was supposed to be on Pig Feet, and this was supposed to be a single, but they couldn't get Travis Scott, so they decided to take the song off the album. But then they're like, nah, let's just keep it on the album. And they just threw it back in anywhere on the album. It doesn't make sense for this song to be right here, bro. And this ending does not make sense. Really, the album, the song with that sounds like has the outro vibes, and I've listened to thousands of albums, bro. Like, I know what I'm talking about. Like, the song that sounds like it should be the ending is Nunu. It has outro vibes, right? Really, the album could have ended at track number 12. I'd take Lost Times, put that in there, replace it with really any of these songs except Blue Slide. But really, it could have been a 12-song album. This is a terrible ending to the album, man. So again, I feel like I'm the weirdo. I know there's some people watching this. Nigga, why you thinking so hard, nigga? You thinking too hard, nigga. Nod your head, nigga. Why you listening to his lyrics, man? Why you listening to the lyrics, man? You supposed to just nod your head, man. But I do want to highlight some lyrics here on Blue Slides, because this is like really the only lyrics on the albums that stuck out to me. Kicking all that gangster shit and checked in. That's just, man, I got to do my academics facts. Because that's what be happening. Kicking all that gangster shit, then you come to LA and check in. Check in with someone. If you're supposed to be gangster though. All right. Here, this is the Kamala Harris lyric I was referencing earlier. If Kamala freed the homies, we'd all be lit. So this is what makes me question how old this song is. So Kamala Harris was DA of San Francisco, but she ended that in 2011. Then she was Attorney General to 2017 in California. So I'm wondering again, maybe I'm the dumbass. Why does he mention Kamala Harris right here? Either this song is like 7, 8 years old. If Kamala freed the homies, she's the vice president. I don't think she has that power. But again, maybe I'm the dumb one. Well, nigga, why you trying to make sense of lyrics, nigga? Nigga, just listen to it, nigga. Okay, you got it. If I had to rate this album out of 5 stars, and I actually haven't given an album a rating this low in a long time, but I usually also don't listen to stuff I know I'm not gonna like. But I get it's like 2 stars out of 5. 2 stars, unexceptional. You got a couple highlights, like the intro, like Blue Slides, like Lost Times featuring Jazzy. But otherwise, this is bland and forgettable. Coming from ScHoolboy Q, this is not his best album. I know he went on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, recently and said this is his best album. This is not his best album. ScHoolboy Q's best album to me, or I'll say my favorite, it's between H&C, Habits and Contradictions, and Oxymoron. I know we got some Blank Face fans out there. I don't think the album's bad. I just don't like ScHoolboy Q on his gangster raps. I like ScHoolboy Q when he's on his Man of the Year. I like ScHoolboy Q when he's on his There You Go. I like ScHoolboy Q when he's on his Hands on the Wheel. You know what I mean? Bet I Got Some Weed. You know what I mean? I don't like the murder rap, ScHoolboy Q. Never been a fan of it. But anyways, that's my rating. What did y'all feel about it? I'm sure plenty of people disagree with me. You guys love, from what I've seen on the internet, you guys love this album. You guys love Ohio. Ohio to me is like the most irritating song on this album because it's like, it's trying to find what it wants to do. But in doing that, it cheapens everything that it does. If it were just broken up into 3 separate songs instead of 3 abrupt beat changes, those would be 3 good songs, I think, based on the beats. Instead, we get one song that's just a mishmash of just gobbledygook. Gobbledygook. So anyway, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Top 5 wrapupsnight.com. Peace.